Welcome to the deep dive. So, you've set aside some time, you're ready to learn something new that's great.
Hmm.
Because today, this session is all for you. We're focusing on language you might hear, at the hair salon or the barber shop.
That's right. We've got this interesting audio dialogue, someone actually getting a haircut.
Okay.
And we've also looked at some explanations of vocabulary and phrases from an English learning resource.
Cool. So, our mission here, it's not just about listing words.
No, definitely not.
We want to actually dig into these materials, pull out the useful bits, the interesting language stuff, so you can really, understand how it all works in a real conversation.
Exactly. Going beyond just the dictionary definition.
Okay, so where should we start? Maybe with a couple of key words from the dialogue?
Yeah, good idea. Let's start with trim. You hear this one right away.
Right, trim.
And it can be a verb, like to trim your hair,
Mm-hmm.
or a noun, just get a trim.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, it means cutting just a little bit off.
Hmm.
Like you're not really changing the style much.
So it's more like maintenance, tidying it up.
Exactly, tidying up. If you ask for a trim, you're basically saying, hey, I like my hair, just make it a bit neater. Nothing drastic.
Got it. So it's not asking for a whole new look.
Nope. And that kind of contrasts with the other word that pops up early, fancy.
Ah, fancy. Yeah, usually you think, expensive restaurants or formal clothes, right?
Right, luxurious, elaborate. But here in the dialogue, the guy says nothing too fancy.
Uh-huh.
And in this context, it means something different. It's more like nothing too complicated or don't do anything wild.
So keep it simple, basically.
Pretty much, keep it simple. It's a great example of how context just completely flips the meaning of a word we think we know.
Yeah, that's really true. You have to pay attention to the situation.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've got trim, meaning a small cut, and fancy, meaning simple in this case.
Hmm.
How about the dialogue itself? You said it was kind of amusing.
What is? You've got this customer who clearly just wants a basic trim.
Mm.
Very straightforward. But the barber, or stylist, uh, they react like he's asked for some kind of, I don't know, avant-garde masterpiece.
Ah, so a bit of a disconnect.
A big disconnect. It's funny because you get the sense the stylist maybe wasn't really listening, or maybe just got overly enthusiastic.
Yeah, I can picture that. Like, okay, a trim, we can do layers, texture, maybe some highlights.
Exactly. When the guy just wants, maybe half an inch off, it definitely sets up a humorous situation.
It really does. And it probably reminds people of times they've felt misunderstood when asking for something simple.
For sure. And this enthusiasm leads the stylist to use some very descriptive language, very complimentary.
Okay, like what?
Well, first off, he says the client's hair is so silky.
Silky. Okay, like the material, silk, smooth, soft.
Exactly. That's the immediate connection. We say silky hair, or sometimes like silky skin from a lotion. It's very tactile, even just hearing the word.
Yeah, you can almost feel it.
And then right after that, he calls it so shiny.
Shiny, so reflecting light, like polished metal.
Yeah, the source mentioned gold, silver, even the back of a CD. Things that bounce light back at you. You can sort of see a reflection.
So it suggests the hair is like healthy and vibrant.
That's the implication. Healthy, well cared for hair. And so clearly, the stylist thinks the hair itself is great, even if the client's request is modest.
Right. But the client does try to steer things a bit. He mentions his sideburns, wanting them even.
Ah, yes, sideburns.
Good one.
Maybe we should clarify what those are exactly.
Sure. So sideburns, they're the patches of hair that grow down a man's cheeks,
Uh-huh.
kind of in front of the ears, extending down from the main hairline.
Okay.
And the source notes correctly that it's typically a male thing. Women don't usually have sideburns. You could almost think of them as like a specific part of a beard that's separate.
Right, those strips down the side. They could be short or quite long, depending on the style.
Exactly. Then the stylist, still full of ideas, suggests the client should let it grow out
Grow out.
and maybe get an afro. Whoa, okay. Let's break those down. Grow out. It sounds simple, like just letting hair get longer, but it feels like there's more to it.
There is, yeah. Just letting your hair grow is passive. It just happens over time.
Right, okay.
But choosing to grow out your hair usually means you're making a conscious decision to go from a shorter style to a much longer one. There's intent there.
Okay. So it implies a transition. Like if I had short hair and decided I wanted it long, that whole awkward middle phase is the growing out period.
Exactly that. It's a process. You're growing it out.
Got it. And then the afro, the stylist's big idea for this guy's curly hair.
Yes, the afro. The source describes it pretty well. It's a big, round, kind of fluffy hairstyle.
Made of tight curls, right?
Yeah, naturally curly or kinky hair.
Yeah.
That's allowed to grow long and then shaped into that distinctive round style. Very popular back in the 1970s.
Oh, okay.
And as the source says, if you're not sure what it looks like, just search online for afro hairstyle. You'll see it immediately. It's quite iconic.
And it has, like, strong cultural connections, too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Huge cultural significance, especially within the Black community, and tied to identity and specific historical moments.
Right. Definitely more than just a hairstyle. Okay, so the client wasn't too keen on the afro, I imagine.
He seemed a bit hesitant, yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
the stylist is undeterred.
Huh. Okay. So, moving on from the specific hair terms, the dialogue also has some really practical phrases, things you might actually use or hear.
Yes, these are great for fluency. The first one is used by the stylist right at the beginning. Don't just stand there.
Ah, yeah. He says it to get the client to come in and sit down.
Exactly. And the phrase itself, don't just stand there, it implies that action is expected, right?
Yeah, like you should be doing something, not just standing still.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the source gives some really good examples to show this.
Yeah.
Like, don't just stand there, help me with these boxes. Or, more urgently, the house is on fire, don't just stand there, call 911.
Okay, makes sense. Or even just don't just stand there in the rain, come inside.
Perfect. In every case, standing there is the wrong thing to be doing. Action is needed.
Got it. A useful phrase for sure.
Yeah.
What's next?
The next one is a classic compliment. Look like $1,000,000.
Oh, I like that one. The stylist promises to make the client look like $1,000,000.
Yep. And it just means you look really, really good. Exceptionally well-dressed, well-groomed, attractive.
So, like, you look incredibly valuable or impressive.
Exactly. And it's versatile, too. The source points out you can use it for people, wow, you look like $1,000,000.
Mm-hmm.
But also for things like if someone painted their house and it looks amazing,
Mm-hmm.
you could say, your house looks like $1,000,000.
Nice. So, high praise for appearance.
Very high praise. And the last phrase from the dialogue section is super common in this context. Take a little off the top.
Right. The client says this early on. It's his main request, really.
It is. And it's just a very standard, clear way to ask the barber or stylist to cut a small amount of hair from the top part of your head.
So, again, linked to the idea of a trim, not a major change.
Exactly. It keeps the basic style. And, of course, you can adapt it. Like the source mentions, you could say, take a little off the sides, too.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've broken down trim, fancy, silky, shiny sideburns, grow out, afro, and these useful phrases.
Don't just stand there, look like $1,000,000. Take a little off the top.
Whew! That's quite a bit. Now, knowing all this, it might actually be really useful for you, the listener, to maybe listen to that original dialogue again.
Oh, absolutely. With all this context, you'll probably pick up on a lot more of the humor and the nuances between the client and the stylist.
Yeah, see how those words and phrases actually land in the conversation?
That's a great way to make it stick.
Definitely. Okay, so that dialogue gave us a good foundation, but I mean, there are tons of other haircut terms out there, right?
Oh, for sure. The world of hairstyles has its own very specific vocabulary. We can definitely explore some beyond that dialogue.
Let's do it. Where should we start?
How about with the classic, maybe infamous one, the mullet?
Ah, the mullet. Instantly recognizable. Short.
Short on the top and the sides.
And long in the back.
That's the one. It's quite a look. Makes a statement, as they say.
It certainly does. The source mentions some funny Canadian names for it.
Yeah, shorty long back, which is pretty descriptive.
Ah,
And also hockey hair, which ties it to a certain, sports culture.
right. And my favorite description, all business up front, all party behind.
That sums it up perfectly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Captures the
It
duality.
really does.
Okay.
How about the mohawk?
Ooh, okay. Punk rock vibes, right.
Definitely strongly associated with punk rock. You shave the sides of the head completely,
Uh-huh.
leaving just a strip of longer hair running down the middle from the forehead to the back. And that strip is usually styled to stand straight up.
Yeah, often with hairspray or gel.
Mm-hmm.
Very bold, very anti-establishment historically.
Clearly, not a subtle look. Then there's the flat top.
Flat top. Okay,
Yeah.
the source had a slightly weird association with this one. Yeah, it kind of linked it, maybe humorously, maybe not, to law enforcement types, and also sometimes like stereotypical serial killers in movies. A bit strange.
But the style itself.
It's defined by being short on the sides, but the top is cut short and perfectly level, perfectly flat.
Like you could balance something on it?
Almost, yeah. It
Yeah.
creates this very distinct kind of boxy shape on top of the head.
Okay, I can picture that. Flat top. Got it. Next.
Let's do the crew cut. This one's often called like an army haircut.
Right, very short military style.
Exactly. Very short on the sides, maybe tapering up slightly, and then just a little bit longer on top. It's still pretty short overall.
So neat, tidy, low maintenance.
Very practical, yeah.
Yeah.
Easy to manage. That's the key idea.
Okay. And one more.
Let's finish with dreadlocks.
Dreadlocks. Okay.
The source describes them as like matted or knotted ropes of hair.
And it made a joke about them looking unwashed.
Yeah, bit of a cheeky comment there. But really, dreadlocks are formed intentionally. People use different methods to get their hair to mat together into those rope-like strands.
And they have significant cultural meaning, too, don't they?
Hugely significant, especially within Rastafarian culture. But they've been adopted and adapted by many other groups, too. A lot of the history and identity tied up in them.
Wow. So, yeah, mullet, mohawk, flat top, crew cut, dreadlocks. Quite a range.
Definitely shows how much specific language can develop around something like hair.
It's fascinating. Now, one last thing from the source material. It mentioned an audio review part.
Ah, yes. Often, these English learning resources, like English Pod, they have a section at the end where you can actually hear the definitions again.
Okay.
And sometimes practice saying the words or phrases yourself. It's designed to help you, lock it in.
Right. It helps with recall and actually using the language, sort of active learning.
Exactly. Moving from just understanding to being able to produce it yourself. A really useful feature.
Sounds like it. Okay, well, I think that brings us towards the end of this deep dive. Let's maybe just quickly recap the main things we covered, just for you listening.
Good idea. So we started with vocabulary from the dialogue, trim for a small cut, and fancy, meaning not complicated in that specific context.
Right. Then those descriptive words. Silky for smooth and soft. Shiny for reflecting light.
Then we got into specifics. Sideburns on men's cheeks grow out, meaning to let hair get longer intentionally.
And the afro, that big, round, curly style with deep cultural roots.
Then we hit those really useful phrases. Don't just stand there, meaning take action.
Look like $1,000,000, meaning look fantastic.
And take a little off the top, a standard haircut request.
And finally, we went beyond the dialogue to cover some other styles. The mullet.
The mohawk, the flat top, the crew cut, and dreadlocks.
Phew. Knowing these terms, it really does help you understand everyday chat about, getting a haircut, personal style.
And it gives you a window into some cultural references, too. These styles don't exist in a vacuum.
Absolutely. Which kind of leads to a final thought for you to maybe mull over after this.
Yeah.
Think about how language around style and appearance, like these haircut names, how it changes over time. What do these terms, mullet, afro, mohawk, tell us about the times and the cultures they came from?
That's interesting. Like what values or ideas are embedded in the names themselves?
Exactly. And maybe think about the words for hairstyles in your own experience, or even in other languages you know. It's actually a pretty rich area when you start thinking about it.
It really is. Language and culture tied together through something as simple as hair.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.